Welcome to Second Saturday TV. Haptic technology is technology around the sense of touch, applying force, vibrations, and motions. An example of this technology is smartphones, iPhones, touch screens, and ATM. It's also used with wearables. Wearable haptic technology can enhance human senses. Today's show is about a very creative company that is doing just that. My guest today is Kevin Wu. Thank you for being here. Kevin, tell me about your company.
So the company WearWorks creates haptic design, and we focus on entirely the sense of touch, exactly as you just mentioned. Our first product is called Wayband, and it's for navigation. It provides information for complete intuitively, the correct direction to go without ever having to look at your phone. So if you're going the correct direction, you will feel nothing at all. And as soon as you deviate off the pathway, you begin to feel an increase in vibration, always gently pushing you back into the correct direction.
Wow. So those it's a device that you would wear around your wrist, or you can wear it around any other part of the body.
We made it into a wrist wearable because we are more accustomed to putting something on our wrist, like a watch. So we aim for a mass market population, even though we're tailored very specifically to the blind and visually impaired. So this allows for everybody to feel comfortable wearing the product. But as we go forward, we want to start developing haptics for different parts of the body and clothing and etc.
Okay. How would I know if it's a vibration, like you said? How would I know right or left? How do you turn? Okay, that's not the difficult one. How do you get stopped into a technology?
So how do you get stopped into
if I need to stop. Say I'm a blind person, I'm wearing this, and I need to stop. Or does it use stop, or just use right, left, front, back?
So practically it's a compass. It's a haptic compass.
Yes.
So as you would see an arrow pointing towards north at all times, our device would pretty much not vibrate at all when it's focusing towards the next stop that you want to go to. So as soon as you get to that point of making a left turn, right turn, or even a slight degree angle of 30 degrees or 70 degrees, it will give you that exact orientation and stop vibrating. So it's pretty much like playing Pac-Man.
So when it's not vibrating, I'm going correct.
Exactly.
Oh, I got you. Was this device developed with the blind or impaired, people who are visually impaired?
That's exactly right. I started the first development of the Wayband when I was in college, when I was in Pratt. And I invited my friend Marcus Engel, who just turned blind in his mid-30s. And he told me it's very, very difficult. It's very high stress in order for him to get to places, new places especially. So I invited him to my school to give a talk about designing through empathy, designing for inclusivity. And so he came by and gave an incredible talk. And afterwards, I went back to his hotel, and his wife and him explained to me the exact point A to B, navigation guidance that is required, which has a lot to do with escort. So you need to have a person guiding somebody if they're blind going somewhere new. So with this technology, with the Wayband, he's now able to get to new places without having to listen to anything. So audio-based navigation information is a high distraction point.
Yeah, because of the noise in the city.
Exactly. You want to listen to traffic, to people, and to the dangers. So we eliminate that audio information completely. We convert it into touch, and by doing so, we kind of relieve the stress levels and allow it to be possible.
I mean, this is a big market. There's a million visually impaired persons right here in New York City, and 120,000 legally blind. That's a pretty big target population.
That's right, yeah. And worldwide, there's actually 285 million visually impaired, and unfortunately, the population is growing due to the fact of macular degeneration and increase in a lot of screen-based uses. So, that's where we see a lot of the growth.
Okay, we have a short video that will give us a little idea about the company and the device. Let's take a look at this video. Let's roll the video.
My name is Keith Kirkland, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of WearWorks. We design products and experiences that communicate information through touch. Our first product is called Wayband, and it's a wearable tactile navigation device for the blind and visually impaired. Basically, we figured out a way to guide people to an end destination using only vibration without the need for visual or audio cues at all. We started with the use case of navigation. Initially, we just wanted to get people out of their phones and back into the real world. But the more we dug into it, the more we realized that the power of the blind use case was so profound because no one had come up with a solution really to address. The first person that we met who was blind was Marcus Engel.
When I first started using the device, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Really it ended up turning out to be even better than what I was imagining. The ability to convey information to me just through vibrations and vibration patterns was really amazing. And not only that, but when it wasn't vibrating, it still gave me information that I am on the right path and navigating in the right direction. It was completely intuitive. While I was out using the device, there were 2 or 3 motorcycles that drove by. If I was using the voiceover feature on the iPhone to navigate, I wouldn't be able to hear that over the outside sound. That was an ability to bring in another one of my senses and be able to navigate with that sense of touch.
We worked with Marcus, and then ultimately Simon, who's our blind marathon runner, he reached out to us and said that if we could have a device ready for him, he would run the New York City Marathon with it this year. We knew it could work, but it had a lot of kinks that needed to be worked out. And so over the 6 months, we worked with Simon. We sent him the devices to test. We broke devices. He broke devices. We sent them new devices to test. Within a few weeks of the marathon, where we finally had a product that we thought really could do what it needed to do to get Simon through the entire race. And so on November 5th, 2017, Simon got to make history as the first blind person to run a New York City Marathon unassisted.
Wow, that was a pretty good video, man. I really enjoyed it, very informative. But I am not a high-tech person, so I need you to explain. I know you're going to demonstrate it, but explain it to me as if I know nothing, which is probably true. How does this thing work?
So the device itself is quite simple, quite intuitive. We kept it this way because we wanted everybody to be able to get it within the first 30 seconds with barely any explanation at all. So before I do give you the demo, as I was explaining, it pretty much stops vibrating when you go the right direction. And when I was visualizing in the beginning, I asked myself, what is the most convenient way for me to get to places? And usually, for all of us, it's through memory, right? So if you've been to a place 1,000 times, you're going to get there with absolutely no information given to you, just purely through your previous memory, right? So that is feeling nothing. That's giving no audio feedback, no sensation through touch, nothing. And I thought that was very convenient. So when I looked into it, having the vibration be signifying whether you're going the right direction was already flawed. So what if it was completely nothing and that itself was information? So that's exactly what we developed.
Almost like zero-based information.
Exactly.
The absence of information, yeah. Okay. So if I had to go to an address in the Bronx and I had no idea where this place is, I would put the address in the app, use the device, and if I have to walk a certain distance, the device will guide me by vibrations. Am I
exactly
correct?
right. That's exactly right. And we focus a lot on voice activation features due to the fact that a lot of the blind and visually impaired, they prefer voice commands because it doesn't require to text or type anything, which takes a lot of time. So we focus heavily onto voice activation. You give the command on your address. We make that app very easy to use through voice. So we focus on that. And once after you put your voice, it will just guide you.
So you would use the voice to open the app. You would use voice then from there to put in the address and information, correct?
That's correct.
Wow, wow. I want to try this out.
Let's do it.
Let's do a little demonstration. Okay, we're going to do a demonstration. This should be fun. Okay.
All right.
Now I put my hand through here.
Put this on you. I'm going to put it just like that.
Okay.
All right. And
now, what do I... Okay, now he's going to get the
use
app.
the app here and just simply say Grand Central. And without looking at the cell phone at all.
I feel it vibrating.
Oh, perfect. So if you could just hold the cell phone, don't look at it. You can close your eyes if you wish, and just do a gentle 360 spin, or spin until you feel like you're going the right direction.
It stopped. Stop vibrating.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Vibrating?
Yeah.
Stop vibrating. Okay.
And try to go the opposite direction for a while and see the increase in vibration as well. It's going to gently push you towards the right direction at all times.
Oh, yeah. Folks, this is amazing. I actually feel the vibrations in my arm, wrist rather, and as I turn towards the right direction and get closer, the vibrations get lighter and lighter, lighter. Stop. I'm now pointed towards Grand Central Station. Am I right?
You're right.
It's a long walk. Wow. Absolutely amazing. Okay, man, that was pretty good. I felt the vibrations. It's really an amazing device. How did you come up with this idea?
So my co-founder Keith and I, we were both very much into haptic development. I was doing more of creating a new type of actuator, like a new type of motor, before we even started any of this concept. Keith was making a haptic kung fu suit. They could teach you how to do
haptic kung fu suit.
They could teach you moves without like an instruction being in the room, which is actually, I believe going to be a very desirable thing in the future. So as we were also developing this, we also exhibited at the Metropolitan Museum, but in two different projects. I was doing it for a 3D printed 15th century rosary bead out of sugar. And Keith was doing it with old-fashioned, coming back to life through digitalization. So we were both very interested in each other's projects. We were pushing art and technology forward. And then at the same time, we had this mutual understanding and respect for haptic technology. And we thought, hey, what if we just kind of made something? And at that same point was when I met Marcus Engel, who's the first blind and visually impaired person that I met, who introduced me to the healthcare system, the rehabilitation system, and how the loss of independence once you become blind is very severe. Sure. You know, everybody wants to do something for you. You know, you kind of start to lose your own sense of independence. So that's where we started to develop the technology quite heavily, and that's when I tailored it towards Marcus' use case.
This is really self-empowering because you're in charge. You're not having anyone else do it for you. If you're a blind person, which addresses that issue of lack of control, sense of control. Wow. How long did it take you to develop this product?
Now we're reaching the 4-year mark.
Wow.
Yeah.
4 years.
4 years.
Is this including the time when you were a student, or this is post education?
This is including kind of in between the beginning of haptic development, of understanding what the technology really can do, and kind of going out of this notification thing. So as you mentioned, like iPhones and all this kind of technology have haptics in them, but it's always been used for notification. So getting our mentality out of that and trying to make a new language out of it was the first step. But the development of it from school all the way until now has been really about 4.5 to 5 years. We really established the company about 4 years ago, and that's when we started to really heavily invest our time into it and go full in.
Oh, okay. Because this seems like it's almost using the technology in a different direction, whereas it's going this way as opposed to that way. If I use an iPhone or a touch screen, I'm doing this stuff. The emotion is inward out. This seems to be sort of different the way you're using the technology. But I was really very impressed with the whole haptic, because it's the sense of touch, and people don't realize that skin is the largest sense organ, and it's, all these miles and miles of nerve endings, and it does much more than touch. And to use it, especially to address an issue like aiding people who are visually impaired and people who are legally blind is absolutely amazing. Where do you see this going?
That's a great question. The way that we saw haptics in the beginning, it was really about creating a language, a whole new language that everybody can understand.
Okay, based on the sense of touch.
Exactly. So because the foundation of our technology currently right now, of the world actually, the vibration motors and everything are pretty dumb. They haven't developed it to a point where you can really implement a lot of motors into a device yet. So we started to test out with that. What would happen if we were to put 100 motors onto your arm, and then it could just give you a lot of different information, gestures mostly, and you can understand them over time. So because we haven't practiced it, right? Language is always a learning curve, a giant learning curve. Right. And depending on what culture, what language you speak, it's very difficult. So through the touch of the skin though, and we all can develop this from scratch because it doesn't exist yet, we found that it is possible to create a language through touch. It is possible to create gestures that's intuitive enough that you can learn without any information in about 10 seconds, for example, orientation. And starting from there, we believe the future can be a lot of output from technology to you, could be offloaded from vision and unloaded to haptics. So to do that, we have to create a more sophisticated wearable device. We have to create multiple actuators with a lot of range within amplitude change and a lot of different frequency beats that could communicate more complex things. So that we believe is the future, but the social adaptation is a big part of it. Yeah. We have to have a lot of, we're introducing the product to the market next month. We wish for a lot of education systems, Perkins School for the Blind, a lot of universities to take on the product. Yes. And as the youth begins to use it for navigation purposes, like a lot of children can use it instead of looking at Google Maps and having to have complex information. They can just walk towards the direction they feel comfortable. So hopefully by adapting at a youthful age and to understand haptics from an early standpoint, we can develop more complicated haptic language for the future of the generation.
How about in environments, and I'm just throwing this out there, in which vision cannot work for you? For instance, deep sea diving. Is it applicable to that kind of environment?
Deep sea diving is something that we talked about super early on, and it will be an amazing thing because there is always this problem. There's no sight, but also there's no sense of up and down. People have trouble with that. Unfortunately, like the waterproofing and all that stuff becomes a big problem for us. One major part that we're collaborating with now is a company that provides indoor navigation for firefighters. So we've started to already establish our partnerships, and we're going to develop a product with them that allows for motion sensor to understand where the firefighters are inside of a burning building and to have them escape back out using the device. Because smoke, noise, and everything is very, very hectic in there. So this could be,
that's interesting. How about for future use? When you look at possible applications, aerospace technology. Space is a big void. There's no up or down. How do you find direction?
We did a small project with NASA actually. They had an amazing they have a collaboration thing together to produce a wearable tech for NASA. And so I had an intern that was actually going to the project. We proposed ideas through WearWorks.
Hey, keep going, that's for me.
And so when we started to develop it for the aerospace, it was an incredible opportunity because everything is priority based, right? You have information coming in from your spacecraft. You have information coming in from your fellow space men and women. And so how do you prioritize all this information? At the same time, your vision is very limited. Your audio is also heavily distracted by a lot of artificial noise coming in. So if we could offload all of that into also haptics, if there was like a buzz happening that's only coming in from the spacecraft that converses to this part of the body, if this part of the body is all for communication with humans, it could be more of a prioritization of information. And I think this could be an amazing thing for aerospace.
Wow. The bottom line is this is expanding our senses. This is expanding our the haptic sense of touch in different ways. Wow. So it has quite a bit of possible applications.
It does. I think the application is really limitless here because cell phone technology will always get better.
Yeah.
GPS technology will always get better. There's a lot of things that are kind of a given within technology evolution that we cannot control, but it's always going to help with the fact that there's going to be an output of information. And all we want to do is make that output information as easy as possible for people to understand. And without having to constantly look at your phone screen, you can understand it very discreetly with a minimalistic, understanding.
Now, you had a person who ran the New York City Marathon using this device. That's absolutely amazing. How did that come about?
Wow, that was pretty incredible. I remember this like it was yesterday. Myself, Keith, and Young, we were coming back from National Federation of the Blind. We had a great meeting. We're talking about the future of technology for the blind and visually impaired. And we stopped at a place for some food. And then we get an email from Simon Wheatcroft, who is actually a blind marathon runner. And he just partnered with IBM to run in the desert using this new technology that was doing exactly what we're doing, but using audio. It would beep.
Sound waves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would beep louder and louder. If you deviate off the path, it will kind of like bring you back. But and the desert was perfect because there's no obstacles. But what he realized was it was too annoying. He had to literally stop after a few miles because he couldn't take the noise beeping at him constantly. So he called quits, had to go back home, and then he saw our article on TechCrunch. And he reached out to us and said, hey, can you do this for me to run the marathon? And that was just at the cusp of when we were just getting this thing developed. Yeah, right time. But we were just at the beginning. We were just barely getting through the corner next to the deli. It was really, really difficult for us to like get the mapping and everything. But we invested all of our time. We worked with Simon.
You mapped out the whole marathon.
We mapped out the whole marathon. When we ran in the points where we saw the kinks happening, like the data was getting a little bit skewed through the skyscrapers here and there. We had to go into the software. We changed up a little bit of the data.
It
was an incredible amount of work, and we had to train for the marathon. I actually ran myself with Simon because I wanted to test it out as well. And so when he came to New York and we were testing the device out, and we had Discovery Channel was making a documentary about us during that time. We had New York Times following us, and we had a lot of press was around. The Verge was also on us, so we kept going to the routes, going to all these little points, testing it out here, rerouting, and when we ran, it was an amazing experience. A lot of problems still. I'm not going to lie, but we solved a lot of these issues.
Right.
But during the marathon, it was the experience itself was incredible.
How was the experience for the young man running?
For Simon, so for the marathon, he had to have a chest strap as well for proximity. So we developed another technology for understanding how far people were. So this thing identified and got stronger as the object got farther away and weaker as the object got closer. So it avoided his arms. So we had this for him to avoid people, and then we had the waistband, which is actually this one. This is the exact one that ran the New York City Marathon with Simon. And this one was the guidance tool.
Guidance and direction.
Exactly. So guidance and proximity together.
Okay.
Simon was really happy about the fact that he was running for the first time without a tether, because usually if you're blind or visually impaired, you run with a guide. And you have the rope, right?
Yeah.
So with this, it was the first time he ever ran without a guide being tethered to him. So he was running super fast in the beginning, super happy. And we were like, Simon, you have to slow down because this is a marathon, man. We go over 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
But he was getting super excited in the beginning, and we couldn't stop him. And at the end, there were like rain. There was a lot of obstacles happening with like cups and everything, and just garbage everywhere. So, and it tires you out because Simon was telling me afterwards, you know, you have to focus on the proximity and you have to focus on the guidance.
Sure.
So constantly you're really
You're
in high focus. You can't even
yeah,
relax your
yeah,
body.
yeah.
You're just running, you feel something, and you have to react, and then you have to, you know, run
Yes.
again. So this kind of stop, pausing, and reacting made him incredibly exhausted by the end. But
Wow.
besides that, it was good.
Did he complete or?
Yeah, he completed. We didn't meet any world record goals,
Okay.
but
That's
you know,
okay.
Yeah, we did it right below 5 hours, which is
That's
still pretty good.
amazing.
Yeah.
God, I can't do that now.
I don't think I could again either.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Are you going to do it with any other runners for the marathon?
Yeah, so we have another really amazing runner. His name is Charles. He's New York based, and he just won the French triathlon, actually.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's an
Whoa.
incredible
Is this
athlete.
a blind,
Yep,
visually impaired?
He's a blind runner, but he's also a swimmer and a bike rider. He's just all around amazing. So he has been also working with us for several years. He's very deeply invested into what we're doing. He's testing it out all the time. So I believe he will be the next one to really kind of jump it out.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Kevin, this has been very informative, and I am like really impressed with your company and your product, man. But you know, time goes by fast, man. I wish we had more time to go into this a little bit more and find out more about your company. But Kevin, if someone wanted to contact you, how would they reach you? Is there a website or a method of reaching you?
Most definitely. You can go check out our website at wear.works, wear.works. Or you can also do wayband.co. We also have that domain as well. And there you can have all the information on the Discovery Channel documentary. You can see the New York Times article and the Verge, all the press that we got from that. And also we're launching our product next month. In November 5th. We're launching our product November 5th. It's going to be a Kickstarter campaign, a crowdfunding. We want to launch this to as many people as possible. We want the tourists, we want the bikers, we want the hikers, the general urban dwellers. We want everybody to test out the product. Put your phone away and just explore. Just be free.
Yeah. Wow. So you heard that. Get in touch, folks. Well, it's about that time. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and Kevin, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I'll see everybody on the next second Saturday.